Welcome back. It is MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit here on MAV TV, talking sprint car racing. And today, well, we're going to talk a little drag racing as well. Joining us in the Hercules Tire hot seat, he's a two-time funny car champion with the NHRA. Cruz Pedregon's here. How are you, man?
Great. Great to be here.
Good to see you. Good to have you here. Oh, my gosh. Well, we'll talk sprint car racing. We know you're a sprint car junkie just like the rest of us, but let's talk a little drag racing along the way. We're in the midst of the playoffs. You just wrapped up at Charlotte, headed to Englishtown along the way. You're in the championship run. I know you've got some work to do, but overall your season, how's it been? How's things been going?
Well, it was a tough season to start off the season. I brought on a new crew chief, Aaron Brooks, who came from the Lucas Oil Dragster team, and great talent, younger guy, enthusiastic, chassis builder. He can do it all, but to go from a top fuel dragster to a funny car, it's been a little bit of a process. Maybe it's like bringing a sprint car crew chief to a non-wing, or different, or maybe a dirt late model. It's just it's same elements, traction, power, but a little different. So it's taken us a while to get rolling. We're starting to get it rolling now. We snuck into the 10th spot in the NHRA countdown, but Mello countdown actually. But so we're in it. You know, you got to be in it to win it. We just had our first race here at Charlotte. We had a lot of potential. We qualified in the top half of the field. Unfortunately, we smoked the tires first round, and that traction bug bit us. But we're swinging hard. The track got a little bit dry slick, as your fans may appreciate. We had the heavy track set up on it, and we had a dry slick track. So what do? You spin the tires. So.
I love it. I love it. Well, don't let this guy fool you. He does know a little bit about dirt racing, has also wheeled some dirt cars. Talk about the relationship between the drag racing and dirt track racing for you.
Well, you know, they seem way different, but they're very similar. You know, if you take a nitro funny car and strip off the body and have you're looking at a chromoly tube chassis with a V8 engine in the front. Forget that it's 10,000 horsepower. Forget that it's a little longer wheelbase. But if you take a sprint car, take the wings off the body, you have a chromoly tubular chassis with an engine in the front. So it's very similar. But obviously, the sprint car goes on an oval track. Drag race goes straight. It's about power. Sprint cars make over maybe 950 now with the technology up there. But they're a modern marvel. Both of them, they're the greatest race cars. I don't know why everybody doesn't think that the World of Outlaw sprint cars are not the greatest thing ever, including a nitro funny car. It's about traction. It's about elbows up. Same thing, different venue, different type of thing, but. That's why I love both cars.
Exactly. It's amazing. You know, the thing that I love about drivers, championship winning drivers like you, and whether it's you or whether it's Donnie Schatz with a sprint car or whether it's Jimmy Johnson in NASCAR racing, you guys make it so easy. Do you ever, touching that rocket off, going down the drag strip, do you ever step back and say, this is crazy, this is nuts, this is spectacular? I mean, I know it's a way of life for you, but do you ever just sit back and look at it like, wow, what we do is pretty amazing?
All the time. You know, I think every once in a while, as I've done it, I put the helmet on a nitro car, climbed in for over 25 years, and I think about it all the time. And I think it's that respect you need to have in order to stay on your toes, stay sharp, because you can never take these cars lightly, because they can move faster than your mind thinks. In fact, the other day, we were testing at IRP, and I'm making a run in the car, and all of a sudden, it switched lanes on me, and before I knew it, I was in the other lane. This was testing.
My God.
And I'm thinking, man, am I losing it? So we go back to the pit area. It turns out that one of the high pressure fuel lines had come undone, and it sprayed just enough nitro on the left tire. My point being is that you never can tell. If anything, I thought I might have been a little lax in the car because it was testing. My heart rate and everything my adrenaline wasn't up and running. So I think those are the kind of things that as a veteran driver, they remind you, hey, you're not completely in control. You have to be on your toes. And I think guys like Donnie Schatz, friends of mine, Shane Stewart, some of the veterans that have been doing it a long time, they get those reminders every now and then. So, you know, these cars are great, they're fun, but they're also high-powered and they're dangerous. So, you know, you have to respect them.
Got to respect them.
Well, you speak about veterans. You've been doing this since the 80s. What really got you into starting your drag career and now just your passion for racing in general?
Well, my dad started out a drag racer, and it was in the 60s, back when they were a little bit like the World of Outlaws probably from the 60s and 70s. A little more danger, a little more erratic, not as controlled. But so I grew up loving drag racing, but I love sprint cars. We used to live down the street from Ascot. Some of your fans remember Ascot Park, little half mile, and so we would always hear these cars going around a track. So we finally jumped the fence one day, and we found out, hey, these cars are pretty cool. So you know, my natural progression as a driver, up and coming driver, I pursued drag racing, but I've always followed and loved the sprint cars, especially the Outlaws. And I have friends, Shane Stewart, I text all the time and congratulate him on his success. He's won in there with the Larson Marks car and the number 2 car. So it's always been a dream of mine in another lifetime maybe to do that. But it's a young man's sport, as they say. And I've developed, we've won 2 championships in funny cars, and I have a great sponsor in Snap-on. So we have things going on that I have to look forward to for the rest of my career. So, but in another lifetime, I'm going to be a World of Outlaw sprint car driver.
That is fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit more with Cruz about some sprint car racing and some other things. So stay with us. More with Cruz Pedregon in just a moment. Welcome back. It is MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit on MAV TV. In the Hercules Tire hot seat is Cruz Pedregon. And Cruz, I went back on your Twitter, and on July 3rd, you said, I may or may not be looking for a sprint car team looking to sell a 360 or 410 wing. I got the bug to go dirt racing. 8 days later, making room to get a sprint car, selling one of my carts. Okay, so what's going on here? Where are you at with this?
Well, honestly, my girlfriend Melissa and I went to Putnamville just for a local race, catch a race before our, I think it was a 4-race stretch for us, and I got the bug again. I watched Ryan Bernal run the cushion and I forget which car, one of the big show car, one of the top running cars. I think it's a 17 car that my other good friend Josh Wise drove several years back. And I got the bug. I watched him running up there, and he was up there running on the edge. And so Melissa, my girlfriend, who works for NHRA, was like totally enamored with it. I go, man, you like this too? It's pretty cool. So I made some calls, but I want to find the right car. I love wing cars, but I also love non-wing cars because that's what predominantly races around the Brownsburg, Indiana area. Mm-hmm. So I thought, why would I want to buy a wing sprint car, which again I love, and not have to travel somewhere? So I thought, realistically, there's Putnamville, Bloomington, Brownstown, Kokomo, sense. Gas City. There's Hopstad. See, you didn't think I knew all those racetracks.
Oh my gosh, I'm impressed here.
Terre Haute. So I thought, if I got a non-wing car, a 410 car, and I could put a driver in it, or maybe I'll hot lap it or something.
There you go.
It would be kind of cool to have it, sitting at the shop. So I haven't found the right car yet, but I'm looking. But I had a lot of my friends call me, hey, you can just put your name on my car. And I said, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I want to really own the car. I love the equipment. I want to polish it on a Sunday when there's no one around. I want to, just say, hey, that's my car, and I want it to be decked out in the cruiser stuff, all polished and looking good. That's part of my thing. I want it to look the part.
That's great.
So a hands-on kind of guy, especially, and we talk about sprint cars, and your passion for it is phenomenal. How hands-on are you with your NHRA stuff?
Well, unfortunately, with the time constraints that we have and all the things that we have going on at the track with my hospitality obligations, with all the Snap-on guests, it's really difficult for me to get out there with the guys. I would love to do it, but I don't have the time. If you think about the inner workings of the team, and I have good people, Aaron Brooks, and my 6 other guys, and they don't want me in there messing with the car.
Right.
So I kind of look at other things. I bought a go-kart, which I've never raced, by the way, and I had midget teams. I had a USAC midget car, 2 or 3 of them several years back, but I never really got to work on them and set them up the way I wanted to. I had drivers drive them, and they'd set the car up, and then they'd walk away and say, see you later, or whatever. But so I really, and again, I told someone the other day, I says, if you think about a 410 sprint car, they're like dragsters on dirt. They're really, they sound,
unreal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
They wheel stand. Yeah. And I'm in love with that part of it. So midgets are great. They're fun. I love the Chili Bowl, but the 410 sprint car is where it's at.
Well, yeah, you love the Chili Bowl. You actually had some Chili Bowl experience, right?
Oh yeah, I raced this Chili Bowl probably 5 or 6 times.
So.
And, and I loved, everybody tell you the same thing about the Chili Bowl. It's the spectacle. It's the people that are there. You get to, I got to race with with people that I admire, people in NASCAR, and all the different people that race there. But it's still a midget, and if you buy a midget and invest that kind of money, you only get to race that once a year. So for me, the 410 sprint car makes sense. If and when that happens, and then I can always, if I want to go back to Chile, I can rent a car or whatever. sponsor one of the drivers that I like and go out there and have a good time.
Well, worst case scenario, we always have a modified that you're.
Oh, there we go too.
Glad to be able to
yeah,
climb behind the wheel for
How about
sure.
that?
I don't know if you're going to be in Charlotte in the next month or so. We got a big race coming up
for
at the
the
dirt
finals?
track. It's actually the week before the finals,
really?
the modifieds
Oh,
run.
wow,
So if you're
cool.
in town,
Yeah,
let us know.
I love the dirt late models and the modifieds. I talked to one of my friends that drove my midget, Shane Cottle. He's a USAC driver, and he said one of the most difficult cars he's ever driven was a modified car. And this is coming from a veteran 410 sprint car driver. So I admire all those guys. If you take, in fact, that's what I like about the Chili Bowl. You get modified drivers,
everyone there,
late model drivers, that go out to the Chili Bowl. And if you can drive on dirt and know how to handle it, that's what's great about dirt. Dirt teaches you all those things, which is what I love about dirt.
It's amazing. It really is. Final question for you. We travel around. I do the NASCAR thing. Ashley's doing the modified thing along the way. We end up sitting in hotel rooms with Dirt Vision and Race Monitor and all this stuff. How do you follow the sprint car world? Do you and I know you're busy with so many obligations. Yes. Do you get a chance to follow it as pay-per-view and those type things, or is it, how do you follow it?
Very good question. Thank God for YouTube. And what the World of Outlaws do, and so does the All-Star Arctic Cat. I got to give love to Tony Stewart's group, and they're getting the All-Stars cranked up, getting big names in there. By the way, I want to throw this out there before I answer that. One of the young up-and-coming drivers that I think is a wheelman extraordinaire is Jack Hodenshire's kid.
Sheldon.
Oh, that kid is a wheelman.
Yes, indeed.
You got to keep it going on. So is Dominic Selzy. I gotta give a little love to my ex-drag race buddy of mine, Gary Selzy's son, Dominic, and his son, his other son.
Gio, too, is doing well, too, yeah.
But the YouTube gives a little 4 or 5 minute little highlight. And Shane Stewart's usually running up front all the time, so I'll give him. If he finishes in the top 5, I'll give him a little text. If not, I'll just kind of let it go there. But yeah, that little that's a nice little quick thing for me to stay in touch and see how the guys are doing.
I do the same thing. Get up in the morning, get up in the midday, and follow along with it really, really well. Great stuff.
Plus, I get on Hose Heads. Hose Heads, give a little,
Hose
Heads is quick, and they update it like they should. It's such an awesome site. I get the quick little update. So between Hose Heads and YouTube.
That's great. That's great. Hey, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
How
you.
about that?
Right,
that is Cruz Pedregon in the Hercules Tire Hot Seat joining us, and stay with us a little bit later on the program. He mentioned Gary Selzy. We're going to do our Girl Lauren in the Pit segment with Gary and Dominic Selzy. Stay with us, everyone.